Today we're going to review Cyphers and Masks, the Star Wars Age of Rebellion Spy Career Sourcebook. First of all, let's look at the player options. So we got species, 3 of them. The Balasar, the Kubas, and the Melito. The Balasar are the, you want to buy some death sticks people? And we do have death sticks statted and explained, and GMs, if you really hate your players and want to screw them over, have an NPC try and put some death sticks in their food or something. They're pretty brutal. And the Balasars are, as you might imagine, because the one of them we saw was dealing in death sticks, they're criminals. Or rather, they have all the stats that a criminal would really like. They're very clever, and they're good at navigating the criminal underworld in a certain way. And also, I guess, because they're antennas, and because they're apparently all dealers of death sticks, they're good at keeping an eye out and spotting threats and the like. Or maybe it's just the antennas, I don't know. Antenna palps, it says antenna palps. Really, I think it's because in the movie they were, one person was one way, so all of the species is another way, so they're all shifty-eyed death stick dealers. Melito, really all the Melitos are these males, these Ronin, because it's this caste system of like queens and like queen lieutenants underneath them, and then all the males that are attached to that particular queen or queen lieutenant. But sometimes, like in the samurai of old, God, I miss Legend of the Five Rings, a queen lord or queen lieutenant, whatever, they have a special word I'm not going to even try to pronounce. They might die because of power struggle, and so we have these Ronin, these lordless or ladyless samurai kind of bug people. Mechanically speaking, their big thing is perception. Not only do their stats help with that, but also they have a sightless vision that basically nothing affects their vision with certain checks. And they have a weakness, which I like, the whole, they need to have equipment that simulates their home atmosphere, and if they get exposed to normal air, it's damaging to them. And so that's kind of nice. Mechanically, though, overall, they're not the most interesting, but certainly not the most boring species. They're perfectly fine. Kubas. Basically, the Kubas are anteater people, and the most interesting thing about the Kubas is that they love food, and they're passionate about food so much, and they don't really care so much whether it's just like a regular bug they're eating, or if it's like a sentient species, like the Verpine, or the Melitos in this book, or the Geonosians from another book we recently talked about. I really love the idea of being a person, or having one of my players being someone who just constantly wants to eat one of the other players. And they're kind of joking, but not really joking. That's awesome. I highly encourage that sort of player PvP bait. That sounds great. And stat-wise, they're stealthy and they have pretty good senses. Not quite as good as Melito, but still pretty good senses. Specialization talent trees, Courier, Interrogator, and Sleeper Agent. I did a video on each of these. I'm not going to go into great detail here. You could check out those videos there. But in summary, Courier seems too highly specialized to be worth it. There are other ways of getting that type of character. Interrogator is an intimidation and to a lesser extent deception-focused talker, which is really neat, and who avoids the trap Courier fell into of making them a really hyper-specialized kind of character that seems useless outside of this hyper-specialization. They get help with talking during interrogation checks, but not just that. And they have a wide variety of stuff you can do. Maybe too much. Might not be worth it spreading out into every single area. But again, watch those videos. Sleeper Agent actually feels like a spy for once. The disguise, the hacking and getting places, taking the data and making use of it. Some decent trees here. Courier kind of sucks, but the other two are pretty good. Signature abilities. We have 2, as you might expect. Unmatched Tradecraft and Counter Espionage. With Unmatched Tradecraft, basically you're just really good at spy stuff in general. First, it helps you with one particular spy-related skill, and you're just better with that skill. But also, as you upgrade it with talents, you can expand that to other skills as well. And you get additional benefits on top of it, so that by the time you get through with it, you're really good in a variety of ways, in a variety of spy talents, just in general. So if the other signature ability doesn't really fit your character and what they do, just about any spy character is going to have use for Unmatched Tradecraft, which is great. And that's typically what they do with these signature abilities, which leads me to believe that Counter-Espionage is probably very specific and isn't going to feel right for a lot of spy characters. Let's see. Basically, it's as the name says, Counter-Espionage. There's another target you've identified that is doing espionage against you, doing spy stuff against you and your team or your faction or whatever, and you have a chance of being able to just foil their plot and describe it in a clever narrative way that makes sense, I guess. And as you upgrade it, you can change the skill being used for this to better suit your character and also improve the enhancements involved. You can also make the check easier or even turn the agent to your side, which is really fantastic. I'm a big fan of these signature abilities. They fit just about any spy character. And really, this is just, in general, a good book for the spy career in general. It just really enhances it really well. The equipment, it's all the type of stuff you'd want. Highly concealable, small pistols, and a wrist-mounted disc launcher that you can put, like, poison in, a garrote, whatever it's called, hidden wrist blaster, that sort of thing. Just, the Aphide crystal hidden in a false tooth. It's basically a cyanide, self-forever sleep device that you can have. And there's more, isn't there? There's a brain bomb. You can have a brain bomb. We also have cybernetic implants, a lock breaker hand, a multi-tool hand. We got a vessel implant for your information runner if you're parkouring information about the city from one location to another. The concealed escape kit in the shoe is fantastic. I love that. All sorts of agents gear. I could go on and on. Shadow cloak, fingerprint mask. Ooh, a watch that has a garrote in it. So much good stuff here. And this is why this is a great spy book, because with all this gear, and I guess because spies in general are so gear focused, it has that advantage, but with all this gear, it can make any talent tree really feel like a spy. I said before, only the sleeper agent really feels like a spy, right? But if you're playing an infiltrator in the core book, without this stuff, you mostly just sort of feel like a certain type of melee character. You're a melee damage dealer. That's it. You don't really feel like a spy. You get career skills, which make it easier to stealth and that sort of thing, but you don't really feel like a spy until you get a bunch of this extra gear. Really fantastic. Really breathes new life into some of the other spy characters, which is great. I love it. It takes a lot for me to really rave about an equipment section in these books. I'm generally not very equipment-centric, but this one, fantastic. We also have a whole bunch of droids. Assassin droid, slicer droid, messenger droid, protocol droid, military intelligence, and interrogation droids. All the types of droids you'd want to have in some sort of spy campaign. Most of them are way too expensive for the players to buy in most campaigns. Some of them they can and use, but most of them they're really tools for the GM to put into the campaign or to just give as a reward or something. We have a small handful of armor and weapon attachments, but here's the real cool thing. Gear attachments. Is this the first time this has shown up? I'm pretty sure this is the first time it's shown up in this game. I don't remember this at all. Gear attachments? Attachments you can apply to gear. So like, you can have your data pad, the normal data pad from the core book, have a dart launcher in it. Why not? Or concealed climbing cord, so you can really, really customize your tools to add cool spy stuff into it. Basically BQ. Especially if you pair this with the Technician Sourcebook crafting rules, where they have a section on crafting gear, you can really mix and match stuff and get some really, really awesome stuff going on. We got vehicles, but mostly in terms of like air speeders and land speeders and that sort of thing. There's a spaceship. That's about it. There's far more attachments for your spaceship than the actual spaceship. And of course, there's a cloaking device for your spaceship, which feels weird in Star Wars, but it's a thing. We got hidden weapon system, a mobile listening post, holographic shell, other stuff like that. Let's move on to, we got some advice on making a spy type campaign or content. And what I really love, we have 4 different sections where it's basically new ways of doing certain types of checks, which we saw, I think, first saw in the engineering source book, where you have a big page-dominating chart of different ways to spend results and a wide variety of checks under a certain umbrella. So for covert ops checks, for deception skill checks, for skullduggery skill checks, and stealth skill checks. This alone makes it a great supplement for just about any campaign, and probably would make me want to make or have a spy kind of aspect to my campaign, just because it's such a big help to help with those checks: skullduggery, stealth, and deception. You know, not just spies are going to be using this, but also your Edge of the Empire smuggler or any kind of crime-focused campaign. you're going to be glad you had this stuff. And we have new things you can do with these checks, like with covert ops. Well, it's really the computer skill. It's all computer skill, but you can create a passkey, encrypt data, study the programmer, set spyware, and plant malicious code. Speaking of computers, we also have slicing encounters, which I'm almost positive this is the exact same set of rules that we got in the Technician sourcebook, which really expanded on slicing. So we have another way of getting that set of rules, which is fantastic. Multiple pages, big charts, and a whole bunch of stuff on slicing. So if you're a slicer character, you got a lot of help here. And also another big section on expanding rules for concealing and disguising weapons, spoofing scanners, how to alter components, hidden compartments within armor, stuff like that. So, Cyphers and Masks, not only is it one of the best career source books in the sense that, not that it's the most widely useful to everyone, but more in the sense that no other career source book really supports its respective career to the extent that it does. It has everything you could possibly want and really improves in areas where the career needed help. All of the equipment can make any spy person feel like a spy. All of the different uses and extra stuff, ways you can spend results on those checks for computers, skullduggery. I forget the other two. 4 different spy things. You can feel like you have a variety of stuff to do as a spy without having really cool talents into it. So if you're an infiltrator or a scout or whatever else we got, some talent trees that maybe don't really feel like a spy, or you want to beef up the spy aspect. Maybe a slicer doesn't really have a big emphasis on stealth or getting in there in order to do the hacking, but you want that. Well, the spy equipment and the other uses are going to help fill that gap and make you feel more like a complete spy. And the spy that already feels like a spy, the sleeper agent, is going to feel even more in line with that. So yeah, a really great book, but also because of all the help with those 4 different skills and the expansion on the concealing stuff, this would make a really great book for the GM to support a campaign with a focus on the crime stuff. Not just spy or military campaigns, but also your smugglers, your bounty hunters, assassins, and thieves. All of that, this is a great option. Probably as an alternative to the Smuggler Sourcebook for that purpose, because that's sort of what the Smuggler Sourcebook did. But it really helps with these general skills. You're probably going to get a bit more use for it because of all that help with those 4 skills. You're going to get more use in general from this book, at least in that manner. So yeah, really fantastic book. I'm not a big fan of the specializations, and the species are just okay. But for the most part, a really fantastic book, whether you're a spy or a GM who wants a little bit of help with their campaign, and it just fits their campaign, whatever it is. So, great book. That's it for today. If you like this video and want to see more, well, you can support the channel by going onto Amazon and buying this book or something similar, or just anything else. Just click on the link in the description, go to Amazon, buy stuff, I get commission. That helps the channel. Doesn't help you at all, but, it helps me, so do it.